With 10th edition on the horizon, I wanted to do something that I don't normally do on this channel, and that's talk about Space Marines. I want to talk about what potentially they could be getting for 10th edition. And it's not just like the generic Space Marines. I'm going to go in depth about all the factions like the Dark Angels, Blood Angels, Space Wolves, Grey Knights, etc. I want to talk about theories. I want to talk about rumours that I've heard as well. So let's jump in and let's get waffling. So I think it's better to start the video with the rumours and the range refresh I think is going to happen first because of the rumours I'm hearing. And that is, of course, the Dark Angels. If you don't know about this point, Azrael has got a brand new model. As I'm recording this video, it's not yet released. The box set is going to be coming out next month, if I'm not mistaken, and that's going to be releasing with the third Arcs of Omen book called Vashtor. It's releasing that next month because Vashtor assaults the Rock, and of course it's going to be Dark Angels versus Vashtor forces, etc, etc, etc. That is going to be the big thing happening next month. Now, beside that, the rumours that I'm hearing is that the Dark Angels are going to be getting a lot of love in 10th edition. Now, it does make sense because a big thing is happening, and again, I'm sorry if I'm going down this same old road again. I've tricked you again. Lionel Johnson is coming back to the setting. Now, I know some people don't believe me. Frankly, I don't care. I know what I know, and I know that the line is coming back. It's the worst kept secret at this point. So it makes sense for their Primarch, who's coming back, for that faction to start receiving that love. Because if you look at their range, they've got like Ezekiel, they've got Belial, they've got Samael, they've got like Interrogator Chaplains. They have a lot of personality in their range, just like the Black Templars had, you know, with Helbrecht, Grimaldis and stuff like that, like the Sword Brethren. They all got that nice new look to them, and I think this is what's going to be happening now with the Dark Angels. Of course, with the rumours about the Terminators, again, I don't know if the Firstborn, I don't know if the Primaris or anything like that. From what I've heard, it's just an upscale, but anything can happen. And by the way, that is 100% happening, the new Terminators. I drink and I know things, okay? So the Terminators are definitely happening. So I can definitely see in them like getting some Deathwing type of Terminators, you know, maybe upgrade bits and stuff like that to put on there, because the Deathwing is such a huge part of the Dark Angels identity and, like, you know, what they do, what they're hunting for, the Fallen, all that kind of stuff. Again, the Raven Wing, when you look at like the bikes that we have now for, like, well, the new Primaris bikes, they're so bland. I think the whole Primaris range, like the general Primaris range itself, is very bland. And once you start getting to these chapters like the Dark Angels, this is when you start having a lot of fun. This is when they really become kick-ass, badass, and start looking amazing. And one more thing before we move on to the next chapter to talk about, and this is not Lionel Johnson, okay? Technically, it has the lion in its name. It's the Lion Guard. This is going to be the new bodyguard unit for when Lionel Johnson returns. This is what I'm hearing from the whispers of the warp, from sources whom I highly trust. It's just a bodyguard unit. I have no idea what they look like. I'm probably thinking they're going to have lion sigils all over them, cloaks. They're going to be absolutely equipped with like badass weaponry, because at the end of the day, they're protecting their Primarch, right? They're protecting Lionel Johnson. Really can't wait to see them. Really can't see what the rules are. Just what they look like, because I have a feeling they're just going to be absolutely just killer on the battlefield. Imagine coming across like a Primarch's bodyguard. This is like the cream of the crop, the best of the best. So hopefully they smash it out the park with that. Now, moving on to everyone's favorite bloodsuckers, it is, of course, the Blood Angels. I have to say right now, during this video, I am seriously thinking about making a Blood Angel army. Dawn, I love you. You're the best Primarch. You're the most loyal Primarch. But there's just something about Blood Angels that scream, we are absolutely kick-ass. Like, we are there to purge, and nothing can stop us. Like Sanguinius, Dante, Ralderon, you know, back in the day and stuff like that. They have some of the most badass characters a part of their gene lineage, and I'm really tempted to do some Blood Angel stuff. And again, from the rumors that I've been hearing online, this is mostly from Reddit posts and stuff like that. This has not come from my sources. I just want to put that out there. We've been hearing a lot of stuff about the Blood Angels, like there's going to be like a new Sanguinor Reborn or something like that. Like that Reddit post said. There's going to be some Jump Assault Marines, which we'll get onto later on in the video. Dante, we know. Well, I know. Again, if you want to believe me, believe me. If you don't want to believe me, don't believe me. Dante is done. He should be revealed soon. We're thinking Adepticon at the end of March, something like that. But yeah, that is the first one of their big characters. Well, I say first, they're second because Mephiston technically got done before Dante did. So they've had Mephiston, they've had Dante. I'm sure they've got some other chaplains and stuff, right? I'm sorry, Blood Angel players, their name escapes me at the moment. But yeah, just like the Dark Angels, they have a lot of paths to go down where you can bring that personality and just make some kick-ass models. The Sanguinary Guard, right? Probably one of the greatest looking Space Marine units. They need a refresh, Games Workshop. This is something I would absolutely kill for. If they redid the Sanguinary Guard, I'll say this right now on this video, I will do a Blood Angel armor. I'll do Dante surrounded by a bunch of Sanguinary Guard and just all the golden boys, right? The golden host, I'll call it, just coming in and kicking absolutely everyone's ass. Sadly, they will not be getting a Primarch model. Sanguinius is, well, he's dead, but he's not dead. There's like visions of Sanguinius and he's got like his spirit alive on the Vengeful Spirit and everything like that. There's a lot of weird stuff that's happening with Sanguinius. I am still like in the area of like they should never bring Sanguinius back, because if they did, it literally ruins his whole story arc for the Horus Heresy, because he knew that he was going to die and it's like, oh, I'm back. It just be weird. But then again, this is Games Workshop and anything can happen. But beside that, actually I should have mentioned this before. The other rumors I've been hearing with the Blood Angels for 10th edition is, of course, they're going to be ones who are going to be in the box set for 10th edition. But I also heard that with Dark Angels as well, because there's so many rumors going around now. It's just like, who's telling the truth, who's not? All I know at the end of the day is that it's going to be Space Marines versus Tyranids, 110%. You're hearing it right now on this stream. I know I've been sprouting it for the last couple of months, but I can confirm right now, again, trust me, please trust me, it is going to be Space Marines versus Tyranids. That is what's going to be in that box set. Let me just apologize right now, because next up is the Space Wolves, and I'll be honest with you, I'm sorry, Space Wolf players, I'm just bored of Space Wolves at this moment in time. Like, back in the Horus Heresy and Great Crusade, I loved, like, the Viking type of feeling of the Space Wolves. Like, they felt different to what they are. Like, now, it just seems, I don't know, it just seems like they've lost that badassness. I know that's not even a word. I'm sorry if I've offended any Space Wolf players. It's just something which has just, I don't know, they just fell off my radar. Like, looking at their range now, I actually don't know what they could have that would make them stand out. I know they have like the Rune Priests and stuff like that, maybe, you know, a new version of them, like the Tet Marines and stuff like that. Are they called Rune Fathers or something? Nigel Stormcaller in Terminator armor, Nidge, as I like to call, let's call him Nidja. Nidja in his Terminator armor, the Great Wolf on his sled. He's just got a recent model, so I don't see him being redone anytime soon. But then again, right, with all the Terminator rumors and stuff like that, because he's in Terminator armor, right? Yes, I'm sure he's in Terminator armor. Maybe he'll get a brand new Terminator armor model with all the new stuff that is going to be happening. But beside that, I feel like the Space Wolves in a pretty weird place at the moment. All this talk about the Dark Angels, all this talk about the Blood Angels, and one of the most badass factions that there's ever been in 40k have just, again, for me, not been receiving that type of love. Is it just me feeling that way, or is there something else which is happening which I'm completely missing with the Space Wolves? It seems like they're not really part of the 40k story. I know they've just had that Dawn of Fire book, but apart from that, it's just been a bit downhill for me for the Space Wolves. And again, I'm sorry if I've offended anyone. I don't mean to offend you, Space Wolf players. I want to love you. Please make me love you. Give me some good stuff about you. So before we start going on to like the other factions like the Ultramarines, Imperial Fists and stuff like that, I want to talk about a faction who I absolutely adore. If you search on my channel now, you'll actually see that I used to have an army of these, but I ended up selling it. I don't know why. I shouldn't have sold them, but I do regret selling them. And that is Grey Knights. I absolutely love Grey Knights. And I was at Warhammer World the other day, and I saw a Grey Knight army, and they look absolutely beautiful. The only problem is that with some of the Grey Knight range, when you put it next to the Primaris models, it's like the scale doesn't really do it for me. So what I propose, I really, really hope in 10th edition that they increase the scale of the Grey Knights. Like, I don't think Grey Knights should be Primaris-fied. There's that debate at Grey Knights technically a little bit different than Space Marines because the Emperor's Gene Seed and everything like that. Like we've got the new Castle and Crow model, which I think is fantastic, and that is kind of scaled up, right? If I'm not mistaken. Like if you look at that, it looks beautiful. If we had that with like the Terminator armor and just like the normal Space Marine armor, maybe a cooler looking Dread Knight or something, or maybe different versions of the Dread Knight, maybe a more armored one. Maybe Dreadnoughts for the Grey Knights, cool looking ones like Redemptor Dreadnoughts for the Grey Knights, Psychic Redemptor Dreadnoughts for the Grey Knights, all these awesome ideas that you can have to put into that range. I think it would be one of the best selling ranges in 10th edition if you were to do that, because there's so many Grey Knight fans out there. Grey Knights are like, they're Space Marines are elite, right? But the Grey Knights are the elite of the elite. That's the way I see them. Of course, they're the Demon Hunters, right? They're the Emperor's Wrath kind of thing, but they're just so bloody awesome. Like everything that they bring to the battlefield, or their psychic powers, just the way they look, the lore about them, they're just the next level. And I think it's a shame that they haven't received that type of love so far. They've just received that Castle and Crow model, which I think is a bit of a blow. I think they should have received an update way sooner than hopefully we'll be getting hopefully in 10th edition. There's a lot of hopefullys in this, but to sum it up, Grey Knights are amazing. There's a lot of options for them to do with the models. Sadly, I've heard no rumours about the Grey Knights at all, which does make me worry. But of course, as I always say, just because I haven't heard any rumours doesn't mean that it's not happening. I heard nothing about Snickrot, and Snickrot came out of nowhere, right? I am not the Messiah, as I always go and say. Just because I haven't heard anything doesn't mean it is not happening. Now, when you look at the Space Marine range, there's a bunch of other chapters as well that are represented, but we don't really get the same type of love as the Blood Angels, Space Wolves, Dark Angels, etc. And of course, that's the Imperial Fist, the White Scars, the Iron Hands, the Salamanders. I would say the Ultramarines, but the Ultramarines do get, a lot of representation. They've got Tigurius, they've got Calgar, technically they got Gilliman back, and they're on every box set, every piece of artwork. I do think in 10th edition, they will get another character returning, another character to their ranks, and that is Chaos Icarius. I'll try and find the image and put it in the background right now, but there's an actual image of Chaos Icarius as a Primaris. It's all there. He's no longer a company captain, if I'm not mistaken. He's now like one of Gilliman's bodyguards, or the head of Gilliman's bodyguard. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But when you look at the chapters, like, let's start for the Imperial Fist and the Crimson Fists, you have like Lysander. Lysander is dying for a new model. And of course, again, with the rumors of all the Terminator, that stuff's happening, 10th edition is the perfect time, the absolute perfect time for him to get a new model. How badass would he look, all like HD redone in whatever this Terminator armor looks like, with his shield and his hammer? It would look absolutely beautiful. Alexio Cortez and Pedro, bloody hell, I forgot his name now, Peddy for the Crimson Fist, the chapter master of the Crimson Fist. I'm so sorry, Crimson Fist players. These deserve their own models as well. Just think about, like, in the lore, what badass stuff they've done. They definitely need to start giving these love to these second founding chapters who have a huge fan base on the tabletop. Crimson Fist, you can argue Crimson Fist are more popular than the Imperial Fists on the tabletop, because they actually have more lore about them, more badass books and stuff like that. When you look at like the Salamanders, for example, they got Vulcan. Sorry, it's not Vulcan. It's Adrax Agaton, but they've got Vulcan Hestan out there that needs a brand new model. There's a bunch of like models you can do. Like, I think a full-on Flamer squad with like Salamander bits on there. Like, I'm not talking about the aggressors with the Bolt Storms or anything like that. Like, do you know what we got with the Black Templars, where we got that guy with the Flamer? Like, imagine that for Salamanders, like a squad dedicated to the Salamanders of Flamers, or generic, a generic Flamer squad, because that's what Games Workshop does these days. They don't really do things dedicated to certain chapters unless it's a full range refresh, because they want to sell the brand to everyone. But something like that would look fantastic as Salamanders. Salamander upgrade heads to it. Remember those like little scarf ones they had in the Horus Heresy? Again, I think they're called Pyroclast. Something like that for 40k would be absolutely top tier hardcore. White Scars, I don't know why we have like new character models for the White Scars that don't have a bike. It is one of the biggest failures I've ever seen. Giving a White Scar a new model that does not involve a bike. What in the Emperor's name, Games Workshop? Give like give him one on foot and give him one on a bike so they can play it however you want. Oh, he's just running after his brothers. No, I'm coming. Wait up for me. Give me a backer. You need some of those BMX, what are they called? Remember those BMX things you stand on with your mate when your mate couldn't afford a bike and you had to take him everywhere to the shops? Good old days. Iron hands and stuff like that. Of course, they should get some funky upgrades. Well, I say upgrades, Spruce. Some new characters added to it, and just more love to all these second rate in a good way, not a bad way. But these chapters that haven't, they're not in the limelight, but they still have a massive following on the tabletop. Now, moving on to the rumor side of these chapters, there was some big rumors. Again, trust me if you want to trust me. If you don't trust me. But in 9th edition, we were supposed to get some supplements for Space Marines. That didn't happen. That got pushed back. So I think that is going to be now pushed back into 10th edition, and we're going to be getting that kind of funky stuff again. In terms of what we're going to be getting, it's anyone's guess at this moment. Like I've always stated, I don't know if they're going to do single books again like we did last time. Is it going to be like one big thick book of like, other chapters and all other rules in there? No idea. Any new characters? Absolutely no idea. From what I was told, like Lysander was still just a normal Marine. He didn't have like the Primaris keyword or anything like that. But again, the rumors are like, the Primaris keyword is going away. So maybe that's why. Maybe it is going to be a new model. It's just a guessing game at this moment in time. Now, the last bit of the video I want to talk about is just the Space Marine models as a whole. Looking at the range right now, everything that we've seen so far, and as I'm recording this video, the last thing that we've seen is the new rocket troops for people who want to buy them, and the new Brutalis Dreadnought. Now, I'm hoping we get some new stuff added in 10th edition, which we will get new stuff added in 10th edition. Let's talk about the first thing, right? Jump Assault Primaris, or new Jump Assault Marines. This is something that has been spoken about for a while now. It's been rumored apparently coming in the starter box set. I haven't heard that from my source, so I'm not saying that's going to be in the starter box set. The only thing I've heard in the starter box set so far is a new Librarian, and new Terminators. That is all I've heard, and of course a bunch of Tyranid models as well, or new Tyranid models. But I haven't heard anything else at that box set. As soon as I do hear something, again, I'll make a video. We'll talk about it. We'll have a nice little chin wag, as always. Now, with the Jump Assault Marines, they are, well, they're done. As far as I'm aware, and as far as what I've heard, they're done. It's just a matter of when, rather than if. If you look at the evidence that we've seen with Space Marine 2, a lot of people have said, hey, look, me myself included, this is what they're going to look like, right? Because, Games Workshop and Focus will have access to all these files, and they'll swap ideas and stuff like that, and, they'll work hand in hand, because if you see a cool model in the game, you want to go out and buy that cool model and play on the tabletop. That's just the way it works. It's just like marketing working together. So yes, for me, they're done. I just don't know when they're going to be coming out. The next thing that I would absolutely want is tanks. I love tanks. I love Space Marine tanks. As you can see, look, I've got like shelves of tanks. But at the moment, the Primaris tanks are in a bit of a state, I would say. Transport tanks. I think we need a transport tank that can actually transport like a full squad of intercessors up the board. At the moment, we've just got like the little pickup truck one, which can carry, what is it, 6? So it's 5 with like 1 HQ or something. I get it. It's kind of like a fast attack thing, but I don't know. I just want a Rhino for Primaris Marines. Again, the rumor is take this with salt, massive amounts of salt. Could happen, could not happen. Is the Primaris keyword maybe going in 10th edition? So technically that would mean Primaris Marines could get into a Rhino. They could get into Land Raiders, Storm Ravens, stuff like that. It makes sense for them to do it. They can do it in the lore. They just can't do it on the tabletop. And the reason is money. That's what it is. Games Workshop wants you to buy the new vehicles rather than going back to the Rhinos that you've owned for the last 10 years. But hopefully they're over that bridge now, and we can all just get in each other's transports, hold hands, and purge the enemy together. On that note of a Storm Raven, flyers. I'm a huge fan of flyers as well. My Stormbird's not in this room. I've got 2 Thunderhawks that I've not built because I'm an absolute scrub. But for Thunderhawks and Stormbirds, they're like, you're talking a lot of money to transport Primaris Marines, because they can actually transport them at the moment. They actually do have the rules for that. But like the other ones, like I said, the Storm Ravens, You can't take Primaris in there. Drop pods, for example, you can't take Primaris in there. I bought a bunch of drop pods just in case this thing turns out. I love drop pods, but, you know, not being able to take your Space Marine models inside of a drop pod. How iconic are drop pods in Space Marines? And you can't take them in there. It's absolutely just bizarre and stupid at this moment in time on the tabletop. But going back to the flyer, maybe a brand new Space Marine flyer, a cool looking Space Marine flyer. Just that's something that we haven't had a new model of now in a couple of years, right? An actual brand new Space Marine flyer. I know the Overlord has been spoken about to bits, but the Overlord described in the book, I don't know if they're going to change it, is described as being so bloody big, it makes like a Stormbird look small, like Thunderhawks and Stormbirds look small. They can carry like 100 Primaris Marines. For put an example, a Stormbird can only carry 50 Primaris Marines. So, you know, you're talking big stuff. Stormbirds are like the size of a Warlord nearly. They're absolutely huge. And I think beside that, it's just stuff like maybe more squads with different type of weapons. The Neo Volkite stuff is something I'm a huge fan of. I would love to see like a full-on, you know, like heavy weapon squad with Neo Volkite guns. Maybe you can do it as like heavy intercessors. Maybe you can do it with like aggressors with some Neo Volkite underslung, something cool like that. You know, something big, menacing. Dreadnoughts is what I'm a huge fan of. Yes, we just got a brand new Brutalis Dreadnought. I would love to see a more ranged version of a Dreadnought. We've got the melee version now. I would love to see a more ranged version of it. Scouts, new scout models, that's something to talk about. I know a lot of people like to go down there. And maybe more fast attack options, right? Like what other stuff, we've already got the land speeders now they've got the new bikes. Is there anything else really for a fast attack option? It's probably just going back to the jump assaults, right? Do they come under fast attack or are they elites? I'm not too sure. I'm sure someone who's read the rules will help me out in the comment section. But anyway, I'm going to call the video there because I've been waffling now for, I think it's more than 20 minutes. Holy Emperor of Mankind. Editing this video is going to be a mountain. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. If you've got any thoughts, suggestions, anything like that that I've gone over, anything that you'd like to see, anything that you like, you know, to have in this edition, please let me know. Leave a comment in the comment section down below and we can have a nice little chin wag down there as we always do. See you now. Have a great day and bye-bye.